Paul Harrell, weekdays from 4 to 6. Learn more at paulharrell.com.
At the Calvin Coolidge Awards, Conduit for Commerce Calvin Coolidge Awards. It was a magnificent evening full of conservatives, full of individuals who have really great ideas about limited government and who are not afraid to vote that way. It was a big deal. And so I did a live broadcast from the Capitol Hotel, and we had a good time doing that. Well, one of the people that was there in attendance, somebody that does freelance video work for the show sometimes, and he also is an activist, and he goes door to door, and he advocates for conservatism all the time, and his name's Kenny Wallis. And he sat down with me and told me about some upcoming tax increases, because we had been hitting these, local special election tax increases all over the state happening all the time. And I understand we've got some more that are fast approaching. So I wanted Kenny to come on, give us an update. Kenny Wallis, welcome back to the program.
Well, Paul, good to see you.
Yes, glad that you could call in. So tell me about this. We've got in North Little Rock, right? I mean, this is the big sales tax right now that you're working on, you're trying to stop, right?
Exactly. The city of North Little Rock is attempting to raise taxes in another special election. Voters will have to stop another 1% sales tax increase scheduled for August 8th. That's Tuesday tomorrow. And, of course, they spent about $20,000 in another special election to minimize voter turnout. And what they've done is the same thing with this time. Mayor Joe Smith, his handler, Chamber of Commerce Director John Owens, and city leadership have neglected services like the police and fire stations, and as well as other infrastructure items, while they spent money on pet projects and raises for themselves. And they're claiming now they need to raise the sales tax in order to run the city and do some repairs. And here's some of the examples of some of the items they've wasted money on. $347,000 for the tugboat and submarine, $339,000 for the River City Rail trolley system, over $2 million to subsidize the Central Arkansas Transit System, that's their bus system, $30,000 for the Sister City program, $8,000 for Christmas decorations, and there's other items that we've posted on our Facebook page. Items like the Argenta Art Center and flags for the Broadway Bridge, and there's a Levy Spur Trail, which is another bike path, and there's items that they've wasted in anywhere from $3 to $4 million that I was able to find, and that doesn't include the big project, which is the $4 to $6 million plaza. That's a pet project.
So yeah, I mean, sounds like a lot of stuff that people fight off locally. What happens if they don't get this tax passed? And by the way, I mean, has North Little Rock rejected any requests for revenue recently or in the last couple of years?
Well, they've claimed that the problem with the revenue is internet sales and that other cities are competing with them. People are shopping in Jacksonville and Conway and others. Yet when Mayor Joe Smith was asked, well, won't this sales tax drive other shoppers away, he claimed no. But what they've done is they've grown government. The city's budget went from $49 million in 2007 to $66 million today, in part because of these pet projects, as well as over $2 million in raises for 2016 and 2017. And about half of these raises went to non-emergency government officials. And what they've done is they've also rated $3.69 million taken from North Little Rock savings in those 2 years to balance the federal fund budget.
So, Kenny, we're talking with Kenny Wallis. So, what's the situation in terms of? I mean, how do you think this vote's going to play out? Do you think the people of North Little Rock are receptive? Obviously, they're doing this via special election because people who want the higher tax know they have a bigger chance of it passing during the special election.
Exactly. Usually about one out of every 8 to 10 people or so will have no idea that it was happening, and usually there'll be 2 more out of 8 that'll be like, well, I kind of heard about it, but I don't know the details of it.
So have you been knocking doors? Have you been knocking doors or calling people?
Yes, knocking doors.
Yeah.
Same thing with businesses. Some of the business owners usually tend to know a little more about it, but a lot of, and even some of them are just like, they had no idea it was happening. And it's going to definitely hurt businesses because, of course, it's 1% of sales. So you go to buy an item, $1,000 item, some of these higher expensive items like cars and guns and, some furniture, and it can really take a lot out of money, and people will just shop elsewhere. They'll look online and they'll see that they can buy online, or they'll go to Jacksonville or Sherwood or some other place to shop.
So what is this? They want to. So what will the total sales tax rate be, or how much are they asking for, and what will that bring North Little Rock to if it passes?
It'll be a 1% rate that would take at 9.5%. Because of the county taxes and state sales tax that we already have, that'll put us higher than Little Rock. Now, sometimes what they do to sell this is they look at the sales tax of other cities in the state, and they say, well, some cities are only at 2%, and they say this one will be at only 2% since North Little Rock already has a 1% sales tax, but they leave out the county tax. And, of course, they don't bother to compare with other states that have lower tax rates.
No, of course not, because then everybody would have to slash their taxes to keep up.
Exactly. They also don't factor in the fact that we have a millage tax, and then we have other taxes as well, federal and state taxes on top of everything else that we have. They like to brag that they have no sanitation fee, and they're threatening a $15 sanitation fee if they don't raise this. But again, that doesn't compare with some of the other places that may have lower taxes.
So, if they don't get the money, they're just going to do it anyway by executive fiat. Just say, well, we'll just raise your fee, which doesn't have to be voted on by the people.
Yes, and they kind of have a notion, and some of their activists even believe that if they pass this, we won't get a sanitation fee. But when asked directly, will we get a sanitation fee if this passes? Or even after 5 years when half of it sunsets, Mayor Joe Smith cannot promise that they won't raise taxes. Also, there was a hamburger tax that was due for an increase a while back. It was some call it a sin tax. I believe it's a tax on like alcohol and restaurant items. And it was supposed to have been passed a few months ago, and they've instead delayed it. And when asked about that, he just claims that it'll just be raised. Most of that will be paid for by tourists, supposedly, and then it'll go to, and it goes to the park system. But, they're going to.
I wonder if on the hamburger tax, I wonder if that was originally just for hamburgers. And if so, were there any people that would serve hamburgers but call them something different?
Yeah. I believe it's on generally as restaurant items.
Yeah, I know.
If I'm not mistaken.
I just think it's ridiculous. I mean, that's how much is enough, and the answer is, these guys would take 100% if you'd let them, and that's the truth. They would take 100%, and they'd claim they'd divide it up equally, and it still wouldn't be enough, and that's kind of where we are. So you're telling me this vote in North Little Rock is tomorrow? Is the Tuesday, August the 8th, and we'll know something, I guess, starting around this time tomorrow.
Yeah, well, the polls open 7:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. It'll be at your regular polling location. You can see the details of it on Stop the 2017 North Little Rock Sales Tax. We have activists who use signs from other campaigns that say vote no on any tax, and they kind of have they have some people with homemade signs. I'll be campaigning in front of the Shepherd of Lutheran Hills Church, which is Precinct 23, one of the big polling locations against this.
Okay.
And I encourage activists to get out and do the same. Also, you can do other campaigns for other things. You can campaign for people running for office, especially if they're running for governor or Congress. You can gather signatures for a petition like the term limits petition if you want to. You just have to be 100 feet from the polling location.
Okay.
But to see more about this, visit our Facebook page at Stop 2017 North Little Rock Sales Tax, or YouTube account Keep Arkansas Legal.
All right. Mr. Kenny Wallis, I appreciate it, sir. Thanks so much for coming on.
All right. Thank you.
These special elections, folks,